Leroy, thank you so much for being with us. Let's start at the deep end. You've got the most remarkable story to tell, but I know that story came at a cost, painful cost, even from the outset of your journey. Tell us about that.
Well, I had a beautiful life in science all set up. I wanted to go into medicine. So when I thought, well, that's it, my life was turned upside down. When the Lord just pulls the rug under your feet, you're flat on your back and you're looking up at him and you think, now what are you going to do on me, And it was quite clear that he wanted me to go into policing. And he was bringing these visions of when I was in Jamaica, which was during my primary school age, and it was a masterclass in identity. And I saw black officers in the red and blue seam, and they really looked the part. And I remember when I was doing my degree at UEL in East London, I saw a black officer in a marked vehicle, and he stopped me in my tracks. I was just running from one end of the precinct to another, and I thought, wow, what a brave guy. So when the Lord sort of got me flat on my back, looking up at him, and he's saying to me, well, this is what I want you to do, all these visions came back. But I thought, I know this is going to be tough. But anyway, I applied, and my father was badly beaten up by officers, local officers, over a traffic matter. And I thought, wow, how can I join the ranks of officers who've just beaten him up? I mean, that's crazy. And I was questioning my sanity. I'm thinking, Lord, no, this is not right. This cannot be. So, I went to other people who talked me out of it. First was my wife, Gretel, just on the left there. She's got a lot to do with it. Gretel, it's like, I want to join the police service. She said, oh, that's good, I said, no, that's not the answer I want. That's not the answer. So my boss, they gave me an appraisal, and he said, Leroy, you're great at science, nothing wrong with your work, but I just don't see you as a scientist for the next 30, 40 years. I said, what do you think I should do? And he said, well, you're a people person, you like serving people, maybe you should become a cop. And I thought, is someone playing with me here? I mean, this is getting ridiculous. And then finally, and by this time, officers from the local Hampstead station used to use our facilities, our sporting facilities at the Royal Free. And I remember they used to take me for drive rounds. They say, you'd be really good as a police officer. I think, this is getting too monotonous. But the final thing was one of my best friends from school, Lee John, of Imagination, who actually, he's done a song with the Gorillas, so he knows for me. Lee's mother, Jessie, she's 95 years young, but she wasn't at the time. In 83, she said to me, Leroy, I think you need to join the police. I said, Aunt Jessie, no, please, not you. And that was the final straw. She was the one that says to me, you got to join. Because I knew I was going into a hostile situation. But I said, God, you put me in there, you'll have to help me out. You've got to be there every step of the way.
You faced opposition as you took this step from colleagues, from the community you're trying to reach, also within your family as well. Just how lonely was it, and how did you get through that?
Well, yeah, it's the loneliest time. I mean, if I didn't have Gretel, my sister, my mother was great. She was always, Leroy, yes, this is what the Lord wants for you, do it. But my dad was saying, what about medicine? And what about, the things you said you're going to do? And obviously, by the time he found out about me joining the police was through a knock on the door from the police officers to say, to tell him that Leroy Logan was joining the service. And he couldn't believe it. He was distraught because he'd been beaten up by police officers by this time. And admittedly sued them for unlawful arrest and excessive force, but he still felt I let him down. But thankfully, 17 years later, when I was getting the MBE just down the road at Buckingham Palace, he gave me the thumbs up. He said, you did the right thing. So that was such a validation.
I am sure many people here have imagined if someone was going to play me in a movie, who would it be? you got John Boyega, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I know he's not just some random actor who got the job. He's connected to you and one of your cases. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, one of the investigations that was shown in the clip just now was the Damilola Taylor investigation. Young Nigerian boy was stabbed in the Peckham estate. And I remember how there was an issue around the stop and search and getting information from the community, house to house. Officers were not getting anywhere very fast. And I went to one of the goal groups that coordinates the investigation. And I remember being in part of the inquiry, and then they called on me to bring in a cadre of black officers who looked like the community, spoke their language, and it broke down so many barriers. Within literally hours, they were getting more information than previous few weeks. And in that information was the last people to see Damilola alive before he left that library. He's skipping from the library home to his death, unfortunately, before he got home, was John Boyega and his older sister, because Damilola's was in the same class as John's older sister. So that when I heard that he wanted to play me, I thought, my gosh, the whole story just made so much sense that he could have played anyone else from that 5-part series, but he wanted to play me. And I suppose it gave it so much relevance, and so many people can identify with it because he really prepped up. And I know that I also saw him as a young actor with his audition for Attack on the Block, and how we were seeing him long before we started to work with small acts was our youngest son, Miles. Gretel and I used to take him to the castings, and there was John Boyega and him and my son. So, but he got the job and not my son, but I'm not holding against him. And so he couldn't believe these connections, and he thought, I've done the right thing, and he got the Golden Globe for it, so he did the right thing on that.
The theme for today is faithful presence. You've stuck at it, you've been faithful. As you look back over, 40 years now, tell us about some of the changes that you have seen.
Well, I saw some really hard, hostile environment when I joined in '83, and fortunately, through various initiatives, we set up the Black Police Association in '94. In fact, the founder member meeting was 30 years ago next month in April '93. So, that 30 years has just zoomed by. And it was really hostile. But when we had the Macpherson inquiry into the death of Stephen Lawrence and the recommendations that were being monitored externally and not by the police writing their own homework, we saw culture change. We saw a renewal of the culture in a way that I thought, wow, this is looking good. Unfortunately, between 1999 when that report was published to 2009, we saw an improvement. After that, we saw austerity, a different government came in, the independent oversight was not a priority. And so the culture of the organization has gone back to a pre-Macpherson era. So for me, it's like 10 years progress and 10 years going back. So I truly believe God really wants this to change. And some of you might know that the Casey report is going to be published on Tuesday. That's into the death of Sarah Everard and cousins who kidnapped her, raped and murdered her. And I really hope and pray that not only the recommendations will be relevant and real, but more importantly, they'll get the independent oversight to change the culture in a way that needs to be done. Because I'm not saying that officers in there are not challenging, but there's this real culture of fear that people are not whistleblowing. They're not being supported by supervisors. They're not really feeling confident to speak up. In my day, through the Black Police Association, we felt confident to do that. And I just hope and pray that people, and hopefully through their faith in Jesus Christ will really start to step up and feel that they can go into these hostile environments. And I pick up from what Pippa said yesterday, they will be unharmed. They will be unharmed. And I know if I didn't have God on my side every step of the way, I wouldn't be sitting here with a joy in my heart, smile on my face, thanking God for his glory.
We actually don't have the QR code, but we will send out a link post the conference to Leroy's website and all the resources that we mentioned. I don't use this word lightly. You are a hero. And every single person in this room can draw strength from your example. Can we show our appreciation and give Leroy massive round?